Recording.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to another podcast of the Hubcast Podalan.
Yeah, and I'm Steven.
Nice to meet you all again. If you're tuning in for the first time, welcome. Returning viewer, appreciate you. Someone that's like mainlining our whole first season one after another because the game's released and you want content, welcome to nonetheless.
Yeah. Happy to have you. So let's, talk about, what's been going on with us. What's been going on in our personal lives.
So I guess I'll start. Zelina I'm getting her coordinated with a youth psychologist / teacher to be able to help, because she's only 2 years old, teach her chess. She seems really interested in wanting to learn to play, and though I am an accomplished chess teacher and professional chess player, I don't have the capabilities of someone that has no vocal understanding of all the words that one would use and all the methods one would use to normally teach a kid how to bring them into learning that early. So as I've always been taught, if you need help, you ask for help. So I went and looked for help, finding someone that I thought could teach her how to play the game of chess without using the basic standard way of teaching, using words and lessons as what I would do with someone of an older age. So, and then my 11-year-old daughter Zella, she has been taking multiple college classes from CCAD. I think that stands for the Columbus College of Art and Design. Pardon if I got that wrong. She's been taking different art classes and whatnot. She's only in 6th grade, but she's going ahead and taking these college classes and kind of building her portfolio and her understanding of art. She seems to have a real love of it, and she's really talented, just like her mom, my wife Pamela. So that's good. Pamela and I are still enjoying every moment with each other, and we will have the wedding here in October when it'll be official that we're husband and wife. Though she's still my wife right now, as is. There's no qualms about that. I have 0% cold feet, so it'll be what it'll be, and it's just crossing that finish line and making it official, I suppose. But and then of course this last Sunday, you and Daniel and our family were there for the baptism of my 2-year-old Zelina. So that was a good ceremony, and we all went out to eat afterwards, and that was nice. So lots of different things happening. Of course, things moving along with Hisshou, which we'll get into later. Things also kind of moving here and there with Vista, the Vista project, the CCG we're working on in the background. So yeah, lots.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. And again, it was a really nice time. For that baptism, it was really cool, really cute too. I think, again, with everything that's going on in life, right? There's always, some iron in the fire, and I know for me, I just applied for my passport, so hopefully I can go, visit Japan sometime this year. I think hopefully maybe sometime in April or May. I've got a sister out there that's based in a Navy ship south of Japan, so it'd be nice to see her and just kind of get a see for something different than America. So pretty excited for that. Just continuing to kick open some doors that didn't think was necessarily on the horizon, but hey, better now than never. Better now than 50 years old climbing up 30,000 steps, wishing I had done it when I was younger. So
right. No, you should always take the opportunities to see the world. I am a full believer in that, so I'm happy to hear you're doing that, honestly. So. Then in the background going on, let's see, for Hisshou, we're still set to take over organized play when the game launches. Create a Ohio Hubworld You know, it would be good if you could just OHIO, like Ohio Hubworld. I was like trying to think of an IO for like, Ohio Hubworld I-word organization. So whatever we could think So Ohio would be the
interstate. Ohio, interstate.
Well, we don't have other states yet, so we wouldn't be interstate.
But interstate.
Oh, okay.
Interstate work, because pretty sure that's what that means. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Well, anyway, like we'll figure out an acronym down the road, but creating an organization to make sure that organized play is humming and growing in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're based out of Columbus, Ohio, but our goal is to create 5 hub cities: Dayton and Cincinnati, Toledo and Cleveland, and of course Columbus. Because those are the 5 major metropolitan cities of Ohio. Find a store, because we don't want to stretch it too thin. This isn't a CCG with boosters and a high overhead ceiling.
Sure.
You purchase it once, you have the game. So if we can find a store that's willing to dedicatedly sell the game and run a community and tournaments for said game, that's what we want.
Sure. Yeah. We want to get this fan base or this, want to get the public involved, right? Don't want it to just be me and Alan just constantly playing matches. And,
right.
we want to get more involved, right? We want to get more people involved and hopefully have that, anticipation for when the game releases come full force. So.
And so our goal is, provided that we're still needing to run organized play, each of those stores would run a store championship. They wouldn't step on each other's toes when that would be. We'd have a set time each year for them to do it. And then we'd have a set time each year for state championship of Ohio to be ran. That is assuming that Earthborne doesn't decide to take over organized play. And if they do, we're happy to let them do it
100%.
And compete within whatever organized play structure they have.
Mm-hmm.
For our sanity, we'd have to figure out the amount of time needed. That would be a fair amount of time that doesn't allow slow play. But a fair amount of time to be able to get the best of 3 series. Because best of 3s make everyone feel better. We've played tournaments for games, particularly the last one was Soul Forge, where you only get 1. And if you just get a bad draw, your heart drops because you're like, there's nothing you can do. I mean, you're still going to play, you're still going to give it your all, and maybe they got a bad draw too, or maybe they make mistakes, and that allows you to incorporate. But it already feels terrible when you have a bad draw, and that's the only game that's going to matter for your round. And so 2 out of 3, I think, takes away that negative play experience. So I feel like games that can 2 out of 3, which I feel like at a tournament level, especially once everyone gets more acquainted with the game just from the amount of games we played, 2 out of 3, maybe with an hour and a half long match time, is not unreasonable at all.
Yeah.
But maybe even an hour. I'd like to see if it's an hour, but maybe that's pushing it too hard for.
Could be.
So, but anyway, 2 out of 3 with a certain hour long match. Certain match, you run as many rounds as it takes to get 1 undefeated person. We call that Swiss. So that's dependent on the number of players, because let's say you have 4 players. Round 1, they'll face off against each other. 2 people will win. They'll face off against each other, and whoever wins that, there's 1 undefeated person left. So that's 2 rounds for 4 players. The more players you add, the more rounds you need before you can find 1 person that will be completely undefeated.
True.
So that's how a Swiss system works. And I'm sorry if I'm telling some of you guys things you already know and you're like rolling your eyes at me, but I'm assuming there might be people here that don't know. So once you have that, and you have 1 undefeated person, however many rounds it takes, based on the number of attendants, you will then cut to a top number. Top 4, top 8, top 16. This is also based on the number of attendance, because the goal is to get a fair amount of people that only lost maybe one match with maybe a person or two people, a couple stragglers that maybe lost 2 matches out of like so many matches. Usually you're going to catch all, usually it's 5 rounds is your average attendance tournament. And with 5 rounds, you'll have one person that went 5-0, a bunch of people that went 4-1, and then maybe you get one person that went 3-2, but you're going to cut to top 8. With something that would warrant 5 rounds. You start getting to like 7 rounds, you might see top 16. And you're looking at huge tournaments before you start going to top 32, which is the next step up. Or top 24. There would be single elimination, so bracket, think March Madness. And the way the brackets actually, interestingly enough, go is you'll start with the first player, then the second player, then the third player, then the fourth player. The 5th player will place off against first. 6 plays off against 2. 7 plays off against 3. And 8 plays off against 4. So that way the matches should be relatively even for like who plays who. Because again, the best player is going to play someone that was about halfway the best player. And that kind of works its way to the same thing. That many players apart in record skill. So you should have more even matches. And then they'll play off that way. It might even go 1, 2, 3, and 4 that way. That way, if first and third do win their matches, which theoretically they're advantage, by statistics, they're the odds-on favorite. That's what you call it.
Yep.
I think then it's 1 and 3, then theoretically 2 and 4. Because I don't think
so.
That way 1 and 2 don't just immediately have to fight each other. Theoretically, the first and second place player could meet in the finals. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah.
So I think it works out like that. So pardon me for getting it wrong in the first go around, but I corrected myself. But so that would be like a tournament structure, but it's a tournament structure that is, well, minus the top cuts. Top cuts aren't done in chess, but even the Swiss system to 1 undefeated player, that was started with chess. And then like card games took it up, but then added the bracket after the fact. Right. Because unlike chess where everything is like here, there is no luck, there is no like deck building or anything like that, getting to an undefeated player, that's just the person with the most skill.
Yeah.
But because you have a meta, because you have all these crazy deck combinations and an ultimate amount of them that could be in a tournament, you have the cut, because the cut takes all the best players and then lets them play a kind of a tournament now of champions to see who's skill, not who's luck of who you played against, because certain matchups just beat other matchups.
Agreed.
So if I could have gone undefeated being like, in Magic terms, a red deck player, and every person I played against was like a white deck, and they just couldn't handle it. And so really, did I earn my undefeated versus a guy that had to place his worst matchup and still went like 4-1? No, because he was having the harder tournament than I did. I just got lucky that I had the deck I auto win against over and over and over again. So you cut all that out once you get the top cut, and you're like, okay, now all of you have played well enough in some degree to at least earn your places here. Now you're going to face off against each other in a brutal winner takes all. We've gotten past the luck component, we've gotten past the deck building component, now let's focus on the skill component, which is what I think kind of manifests itself from that. But Magic's done that, Yu-Gi-Oh's done that, Pokemon has done that, so it is a staple of card games. So I'm not coming out of this nebulous void where I'm like, oh, I've created all these rules for a tournament, and we're doing what works. We've proven to work since time immemorial in some way, shape, or fashion. So, it's an easy blueprint. I think the 2 out of 3 that Magic uses is the best way to go about it. I've competed in tournaments and continue to compete even with a 1-up structure, Legend of the 5 Rings, Soulforge Fusion. I have no problem with that, but I think I prefer 2 of 3s when you can manage it. And I think the game at a higher level competes fast enough that it can warrant a 2 of 3 structure.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's fair, right? Especially if you just get that, even with a deck, right? Like you get that first one off where you're like, this
You can-
deck isn't really that.
You
strong
could in the first.
hand.
How many times have we had the bad luck to draw all our agents off the top of the deck?
Yeah. I mean,
And you can't do anything about that because once they're in your hand, or even if they're at the top of the deck, if the opponent goes for that deck, he's gonna win in like 2 turns. We had that one game where you had all your agents on top in what? I won in literally 4 actions.
yeah, 4 actions.
3 actions on turn 1. Maybe it was 5. I think
it was 5.
But still,
I think you were trying to go for 4.
We couldn't even get like 2 full turns of the game before I'd already found all 3. So the point is, that was his tournament. He was like, he needed to win or lose a match because you would have 1 loss, and if you went 3-2, you probably wouldn't make the cut. But if you win this match, you go 4-1, you're in the top 8.
Yep.
If you only got 1 match and that was your luck, you would be furious. Like, you would know it was luck. You wouldn't be like mad at the game, the developers, or anything. It's just luck.
Yeah.
But you would still be like, oh my god, curse my luck. So like, knowing that happens, you're like, okay, well I just gotta win the next 2.
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole lot better place to be on the other side of that than that was my shot and luck just like bit me over. So I prefer 2 of 3s. I think it helps.
Agreed.
Especially because this game's not gonna, as far as I can tell, have a sideboard. So unlike Magic, where there's a little bit of a meta of like having a sideboard I could side in cards to hopefully guarantee my wins on 2 and 3.
Yeah.
You're just playing 3 games. There's no like even stall on a sideboard. You're just, okay, let's shuffle up and keep going.
Sure.
So I think that's fair. 2 or 3. That way, even more.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, so that's what we're looking at for that, and then of course got the Team Covenant Challenge on the table for whenever they do their opening weekend. That Steven, Daniel, and I will compete against probably Zach, Steven, and we're assuming Steven's brother.
Yeah.
But we don't know who their 3rd person is. We don't even know if that's the 2 they're going to pick.
True. Yeah, who knows?
But we assume that Zach and Steven are probably going to be chomping at the bit to put us in our place.
Oh, I'm sure.
Our only advantage is they're playing a lot of sorcery and other card games right now, and we are only on that Hubworld train. So maybe that gives us an advantage for the amount of insane practice we're doing.
Sure.
But those guys are no joke. I have played games long enough and watched them play games long enough. Those guys aren't going to cut us a break, especially when they could be the first team champions in Hubworld. So.
True.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The goal is whenever they do their opening celebratory weekend event, we're going to make the trip to Tulsa and they're going to stream that match out and try to make ourselves look like too much of fools. And but it'll be fun. I don't even care if we lose all 3 of our matches.
Either, yeah. Just happy to be there, honestly. Yeah.
It'll be fun. And in case you wonder, I did mention, but when Team Covenants first got its start, I was there on the ground level, like supporting these guys, wishing them well, buying their product, doing what I could. So I'm really happy that they keep growing and doing well. I'm even happier that they've welcomed into their lives their first kids. Like both Steven and Zach have had their first kids, and so they're going through that. So yeah, all the luck and all the wishes their way. Those are great guys. They've done a lot for the community. Them focusing on games like Hubworld, Sorcery, and games that don't get the love of Magic with like 1,000 influencers and podcasts and whatnot. Them like giving us little guys a chance to actually have a voice, be heard, and the community and whatnot, and reach out to people worldwide and show them these games. It's a class act. Hats off to you. Except my hair is crazy, so I'm not going to actually tip my hat, but slight tip there for you guys. We love you guys. Oh, let me grab this. So we mentioned it in the Twitch stream, but we received these from an amazing Etsy artist, and in the match cast, if you watch it, there's a QR code you can scan that will take you to their shop. But they made these Hubworld dolls. Now this one is the jumbo one that you see on our match cast. It's designed with the very top to be the point because the camera's going face down. But it has the ability to click your actions. Obviously, these are basic 0 to 9s. So you're not going to need more than 3. Maybe you'll need 4 if you run those particular cards. You're never really going to have an extra action other than 3. But still, it shows you what your action is. Marked with the little action symbol right there. Then you have 2 0 to 9, so you can again, there's 15, 14, 13, so on and so forth. Or I can just mark it to 0 and 5 to show starting shards. And then you have 1 for heat. I'm just going to say it now, with all the games we played, you're lucky to go past 5. So we didn't think it was necessary to be able to get to 10. So the most you're going to get from it is 9, but God, I mean, maybe it's possible, guys, but
we must have a gnarly.
Maybe Jaco and Ace where you're constantly giving yourself heat.
Yeah.
But even still, you get 8 heat. I'm just going to go at your deck and find every agent you got at that point. By the time I get you to 8 and you're helping build it up.
Yeah, no chance.
And I would say the reason I say that is because if Jaco is piling on the heat, Jaco's at 3 here, and then he gives himself a heat. That saved me 4 money. Jaco gives him a heat, that saved me 5 money. That means that money can be used to delve you on your network. What was the commons? We'll get into that later. And I can afford your guys at that point because I'm not having to pay for heat. You're paying my heat.
Sure.
So I feel like it accelerates the game before you could even get to 10, even with Jaco. In a competitive deck built environment. When you're playing with the preview deck, sure, those are a little slower. They're designed to show you everything, not be an effective tournament. But they made those, so that's the bigger one for streaming. Then, as you can see, the smaller one for tournament play, it's facing you because you're looking at it, so it's at your eye level by being 1 down. Same design, just smaller, and like I said, it's not up and down at the top. It's down here 1 hex level down to make it easy for you to see what you're doing. But otherwise, it's just a smaller version. But I'm being led to believe that if you scan those QR codes, you can find at least this one. I don't know about this one. This was special made for us, and we super appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a game changer. Very easy to use. Very easy to, quickly adjust, and again, they don't move so easily that if you brush your finger over it, that it's gonna it takes some effort. There's not any shouldn't be any shenanigans going on.
Whereas with dice, you could accidentally knock the die and then it goes to a different number.
Yeah.
And not even intentional. We're not talking about intentional cheating or anything like that. I mean, it happens, but we're just talking in the realm of oh crap, I didn't mean to.
It just happens.
Someone knocks the table and the dice roll.
Yeah.
Things like that. So you can hear the click.
Yeah. At least so.
So yeah, these have been really great. So shout out to them for that. And then that's kind of all that's been going on with Hisshou lately. We had the stream, of course, we mentioned that. We did a 6-hour stream.
Yeah, it was fun. Got a lot of community engagement. It was really nice to, have people talk back and forth about the game. Give some banter, some jokes. It was really nice to get that engagement piece. I think it kept things lively, and while we were snacking and playing, I think it just, again, this is the groundwork of building the community and getting people interested or continuing to further the intrigue with this game. So it's been a real blast. I really enjoyed the stream and hope we can do some more in the future.
Yeah. I enjoyed it as well. That'll lead us to our topic for the day, I guess. But before that, we'll go over a couple things that have happened in Hubworld with the updates since our last recording. We learned that they're doing graphic changes to the artwork and style. It shows a continual commitment to try to make it as good a product at launch without just going, well, they liked what they saw on GameFound, we'll just do that. And they were like, well, maybe we can make this better. Maybe we can tweak this. Let's get this set up right so when we do launch, we don't have to backpedal in any way, shape, or form. This went as far as also terminology. We're switching from the use of the word commons for the deck to the word network. So that way commons and council don't interact negatively with each other. It may seem like a nothing kind of change, but it shows a level of attention to detail and care for the player base that I want to take a small moment to rant. If you're a new player, maybe it's your first time playing a card game, or you're a card game player, but you've only ever played with your friends at the bar or at each other's houses or whatever, and you've never gone to a tournament before. You're nervous for either of those reasons. Needing to say the word council and commons, very, very similar. Both start with a CO, both are enunciated the same way. It would be so easy if your game-winning decision should have been attacking commons and you accidentally say council, or vice versa. And that could be a negative play experience for that player, whether they're in their own head being like, oh, I can't believe I made that mistake, or being like, oh, I want to take that back, and maybe the other player doesn't let them because they said one thing and they don't want to let them take back what they want to say because it's a tournament. We view that as tantamount almost to unsportsmanlike conduct, even if the rules would allow it. Because if you haven't done anything yet, you haven't committed anything, you haven't played any cards, he's only said that, and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I meant this. There's no reason not to give them that.
Great. And there's, it's one thing if they're, a couple,
cards
delves in.
Yeah.
So, but no, if they just said it, it's like, that's a little unreasonable to me.
Yeah. But we also are realists and understand that there are people at tournaments that would behave in such a way, whether they should or shouldn't. They're not us. We wouldn't do it. But so by taking away any chance of confusion that could lead to negative experience, there's a subtlety to it, but it's a subtlety based on wanting the right outcomes. And so we want to applaud the thought that went into that.
100%.
Exile, because exile has so many connotations in other card games, so it can get confusing. I don't know if that's why they did it, but that's how I view it, was changed to scrap, which makes sense. You're in a cyberpunk world where so many things are discarded or thrown away. Scrap makes perfect sense for where cards that are face up get removed, instead of, which is what was the face up removed from game pile pretty much next to the archive. Before your face down discards went. So, those two changes. Actually, I printed out labels and put them on the mat. So if you're watching this month's Matchcast, you'll see that we have relabeled those areas to try to get in the habit of using the correct terminology. Don't think they made any other super changes that I know of. There weren't changes to the rules. There wasn't any other terminology changes. Maybe. Yeah, I can't think of anything. So, yeah, overall, those are the changes we saw in that regard. The other thing that we've seen is we still we went through the late pledge. That's closed. So we're to the point now where they're going to be moving towards production and release. So that's exciting. And yeah, so that'll lead us to our topic today. I guess actual Hubworld discussion. Deck building. So Steven and I both built decks using the spoiled card pool that Hubtechie had.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we've noticed Hubtechie is down. The guy running it may bring it back closer to the game. We're going to try to reach out to the community, see if we can find that guy. If he's not interested, we might, as Team Hisshou, try to make a bid for that, because I personally am not the biggest fan of Tabletop Simulator. It can be really wonky and tricky to deal with. And it can put people off needing to pay $20 to download a game on Steam that then lets them play any other tabletop game for free. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's not a value, but if you were just wanting to play Hubworld online, me telling you need to spend $20 to some company that didn't even Earthborne Games to do it would feel to begin with. And then since it is such a complex system that can handle any type of tabletop game, you have it's like someone's like wanting to learn their first computer and you're going to hand them like a Linux where, you can do all this stuff, but you got to learn coding to do half the stuff. Like, it's super complex, super intricate. I was just looking to go online and look at funny cat memes. I don't need all that. So Hubtechie, something like that, where you can just like go on and load your deck in and just play for free. If they're not doing it, I definitely want to see it done.
Great.
And so we'll keep you guys updated on that. But deck building, we use those card pools that were on Hubtechie before it went down, and created decks. And so I'll let Steven rant for a little bit what he kind of thought about deck building for this game now that we've actually sat there and did it. Before I let him go on, the agents you pick, which you have to pick 6 unique agents, each give you a pip of color for that faction. So if I have 2 blue agents, I have 2 pips of blue color. And then if I have 2 orange for OmniWorks, I get 2 pips of orange. So the cards themselves that you would put in your deck, which are a max of 2, and you go up to a max of 30. So you need to have a 30 card deck plus the 6 agents will be 36 cards. The 30 cards you're putting in your deck, the cards themselves will have requirements at the bottom in the number of pips. So one card might be particularly powerful in blue, and it'll have 4 blue pips. That means you need at least 4 blue agents in your deck to be able to build with that card in your deck. So it's almost like mana in Magic, in the sense that your deck building pool is like your mana pool. So the cards you can pick are dependent on the blend of 6 agents. So you could have 1 purple, 1 green, 1 blue, and 3 orange to deck build 4 colors if you wanted. Or some other weird combination like that. Or you could have 2, 2, and 2 of 3 colors. Or 3 and 3 of 2 colors. So depending on how you pick those agents will depict what cards you can pick from those pools to put into your deck. Obviously, my example wasn't off. You'll find that the most powerful cards tend to either be 4, 5, or 6 pips. So if you're wanting them, you kind of have to go heavy into those agents.
Yeah, and I would argue, just piggying back on what Alan said, like it seemed like in deck building that you really want to go heavy on one color over just kind of playing the middle ground over 2. At least in my experience, I think there's a lot. there's a lot of advantage of being centered on one color rather than trying to find the middle ground. I think in the decks that I built and played against Alan's with, as well as just other decks, like it seems again just having that one color that's you're more focused around or built strategy with is going to serve you a lot more than just kind of going 50-50 and hoping for the best. I think there's also an advantage to having a lot of low cost shard cost cards. That way you can quickly action things out. You're also able to strategize well with other cards that of other colors that might benefit you. So I think that's pretty good. A good strategy to think about, or something to maybe think about when you're deck building for yourself.
And so for me, I went into deck building, but I've been building decks to compete at a pro level in card games for 20 years. So I have a bit of an advantage on Steven on this. I look at it into 3 spheres. I always deck build 3 spheres. I will pick all the cards I like, depending on, first I get an idea. So for the deck, I wanted to be a fast deck. So that was already, okay, it needs to be aggro. Well, how am I going to aggro? Well, I wanted to use Goldie because they allowed me to, as long as I have more heat, which if I'm spending money to constantly give you more heat so I can barrel into your cards and get them as fast as possible, she's helping lower that cost, because that's what I'm trying to do as an aggro deck. Just throw you into 5 heat as fast as possible and then just start grinding your deck. Because if I get you to 6 heat, let's just say 6 heat, it's unreasonable. Usually 5, we never see more than 5 in all the games you watched us play, and then some that you haven't. 5 seems to be the standard, but we're saying 6 because it just makes easy math. A 30 card deck plus 6 Seekers is 36 cards. If I have you at 6, that means I'll find all your agents in 6 delves. So, with you able to do 3 delves a turn, if you're just really going for it, I can get there relatively fast.
True.
Now, you're drawing cards, which is making it go that much faster. The first turn, you'll have 5 cards. By the end of turn 1, you've drawn 1 card. That's 6 of 36 already removed from my searching of your deck. So, the math gets even crazier. And I'm not going to have a big lecture on that. That'll bore everyone. But so, my goal is I'm trying to get up your heat as fast as possible and just punish your deck. Just hit it hard over and over again to find those agents as fast as possible. So I saw Goldie and Jaco were the 2 more aggro intense. Jaco, though it can be helpful to draw a card, get resources at the cost of giving myself heat, that could be very helpful, don't get me wrong. I saw Goldie as a slight control aggro. And I liked what she represented, because once I get more heat than you either doing 2 things. You're either going to play just like me and keep trying to give me heat and play my game, and we're racing at that point, which is not what your deck more than likely is built to do. Your deck isn't supposed to play that. My deck is. Yours not. So if you're playing like me, but my deck is built to play like me and yours isn't, I'm doing well. I have an advantage in the race. You might still beat me. A person that shows up at the Olympics for the first year ever to do the 100-meter yard dash might win, but if the guy on the other in the field there is Usain Bolt, you might win. There's no guarantee Usain's going to win, but his track record
speaks for itself.
Right, so, there's an advantage. Usain has the advantage. So anyway, so I saw that. So now I have my Seeker, I have my general idea, aggro, I'm going to be constantly adding heat and trying to find those agents as fast as possible. So now my deck, I pick all the cards that I like. Now, because I picked Goldie, that means I'm in orange. Mm-hmm. But I also mentioned Jaco and Ace. I saw that purple had a lot of cards that could help aggro. So now I have the 2 colors. Well, I also knew that you're either going to go 3 and 3 or 4 and 2. Or maybe even 5 and 1. If I needed to go 6-0, I would, but I looked at first the purple and the orange 6s to see if there was anything that screamed like you could win a game as aggro with this. Neither gave me that. Those vibes at 5 and 6 neither of those were like, oh my god, if I had this at 5 or I had this at 6, my aggro deck would be so good. And since I didn't care about that, I knew I was looking at 3 and 3 or 4 and 2. So, sorry, some of this stuff is in the back of my head. I'm like, oh, but they don't know that. So then I take all the cards that were 4 or less that I liked in either color, and I put them into 1 of 3 piles so I could start looking at it and figuring out my deck. Pile 1, win condition. Is this stuff the stuff that's going to make sure I win the game? Helping me push aggro in some way, shape, or form. Pile 2, resources. This is going to give me the resources so these cards can get played, can get done, so I can win the game. Because even though I have these cards that win the game, if I can't afford them, if I can't keep up with the money that's required, the cards that are required, because if I'm aggroing, I'm playing cards continually, I need to keep drawing cards. So card draw and resources are equally important because my goal is, if I'm in the game fast, I need money fast. I need cards fast. So are these resource givers? Yes, they're technically helping me to win, but they're resources. If I did nothing but these, I would still lose the game because there's nothing actually winning me the game. I'll have all the resources I could ever want, but nothing would win the game. So resources are its second pile. Like, is it building up my economy that my win condition can be afforded? And then the third, what I call is meta or defenses. Because even as an aggro deck, assuming that I can just do my strategy and my opponent's just going to let me win is silly. You have to have cards for when they try to stop you, you go, nah, that's alright, I'm still going to win. So I don't like counters in a game, but if you can afford a counter in your aggro deck, there's no red deck wins player that if they made a 2 red cost counter spell, wouldn't be running the hell.
Oh yeah, you bet I agree.
So, luckily that's in blue. Yeah. So for a reason.
It can stay there.
But anyway, but things like, if an opponent tries to stop your delve, maybe you have a card that says, go to this other lane so you can keep delving. Or maybe you need to slow the opponent down. In case of a race, like we are racing, maybe I'm playing against another Goldie deck that's also trying to aggro. And if they're going faster than me, I need to be able to slow their roll so I can catch up. So cards that help you either slow their pace so you can do what you need to do, get around ways that you think they'll try to stop you, because there's no guarantee that you can come up with every contingency against you.
No.
And the card pool will never exist that you can guarantee that you can stop everything your opponent would ever do. When that happens, you have a broken deck that needs errata, because if there's a deck that can literally, no matter what the opponent plays, I have an answer and it's always effective, that's the deck that wins, because you either play that deck or you lose.
Yeah.
So, no, you can't, but you think about the ways, like, if I'm going to constantly be harassing the opponent's deck and giving them a ton of heat, they're probably either going to try to stimmy my resources, so I can't afford to keep paying for heat. They're going, because you can remember in Hubworld, I can literally go and find all your resources and pay to scrap them. What do I do about that?
Sure.
Because you're preventing me from affording the cost of the fight.
Yeah.
So they might try to belittle my hand so I don't have action, so I can't ever get past their obstacles or problems that they're setting in my path. So they might handle they might come after my resources. They might set up obstacles that make it too pricey. If you put Eye Enforcers, and I have to pay 3 and 3.
Yeah, you're not going to be one of the...
I can't go after your deck.
Yeah.
And even then, if I need...
down.
Yeah, because I need to pay 3-5, 3-5. That's 16 shards to get back to my win strategy.
Yeah.
So you can put up heavy obstacles. So maybe I have something that's like, hop over this one card. You don't have to face it or something. So that would be an answer card that I need for that strategy. So, yeah, thinking about cards, like what problems do I foresee if I'm wanting to do, because you have to think, in a perfect world, I would do this. And then once you have that idea of the perfect world, that's never going to be the case. Now you play negative Nancy.
Yeah.
And you go, okay, well, if my opponent was going to do, if I was playing against an evil mustachio version of myself, and they were doing that, what would I do to stop them? And then you start looking, okay, I guess I could, if they're wanting to put that out so they can, like, exhaust it and gain two shards, then I probably should go kill that before they can use their shard winner to get too much economy.
Yep.
If they're going to constantly be trying to get heat, maybe I try to equalize heat, not all the time, but a couple times before it gets out of hand. If they're going to be coming after my deck, maybe I put up obstacles in the way. Okay, well now you've thought of 3 things that someone would do. Well, what would you, now you flip the board again. Nice Alan's there, you're mustachioed evil Alan. What would you do when they do that? And it's kind of the same level of thought process you have to go through in chess. Like, what would they do if I do this? What would I do if they do that? Now I analyze it. Is it worth doing the thing?
Sure. And again, you got to think about those things in, like, sometimes just quick, real time, right? It's not, stand there and go into thought paralysis on your next move. You just got to make a choice, and you gotta stick to it. And again, kind of what you some like 3 themes I'm seeing, right? Either obstruct, redirect, or distract. And it seems to be like those 2 things. And distracting and redirecting could be a different way, but like in the game of, Hubworld, right? Like there's cards that can literally tell you
you're going there now. Yeah.
So I think there's definitely, a strategy to be played, and sometimes a deck plays one way, and sometimes it plays all 3, and I think that's kind of in the strategies of, what are my resources, what are my tools in my utility belt of my deck that's going to, get me the win, or at least, make it really hard to see that outcome for my opponent.
So now I have 3 piles, and there's probably way more cards than a 30-card deck in it at this point. It's probably egregious. Anything that I thought, like the minusculest thought, that could be helpful in some way, shape, or form, and I liked its overall design. So when I'm looking at the card, I'm looking to see what it does, how much it costs, does it draw cards, does it give me resources, shards on the instant like thing, or does it, what's its obstacle, what's it doing as a negative to the opponent, and or as an action, what is it netting me, and how much does it cost to net me the thing. And if I like that overall setup, and I think it could be useful for what I'm trying to do, it goes into one of the 3 piles. And now comes the evaluation. So you should. Okay, so what I always do, because I'm not God's gift to Earth, but what I do is I always start with my win condition. I need to fine tune my win condition now. So that's the first one. I look and go, what are necessities? And I try to, in a 30-card deck, you probably want 5 necessities, because that's 10 cards, it's 1/3 your deck for your win condition. If you need to go over that for win condition cards, that's perfectly fine. But I'm saying you should at least 1/3 of your deck should be towards your win condition, in my head. So 5 cards is the bare minimum. Do what 5 cards? I pick 5 cards, I'm like, these have to be in the deck no matter what. These are the clutch. Then I look at the pips on them. Do they all agree, or would I have to like pick one or the other? Like if there's a 4 orange and a 4 purple, obviously they can't both be there. So do I go the orange route or the purple route? And then I have to make that snap judgment there. And if everything's like 3 and 3, I can move on to the next deck before I have to come up with that 4-2, 3-3 decision or something like that. But I'll do that and try to get 5, 5, 5. And all the other cards aren't discarded yet. They're put into like a B pile of each of these 3 piles, because there's an argument that can be made that maybe I, add one more win con and take 1 meta card or defensive card out and go 6, 5, 4. So they're not out yet, but I've at least got I'm trying to create a core shell and see what I see. And then once I've got those 5 each, and again, hopefully I've determined, Now, I found a 4 card in my win condition pile for purple. But I got Goldie. I was supposed to be playing orange. Well, now that's a conundrum. But then I look. Goldie only requires 1 pip to play. So as long as I got 1 orange agent, I can run Goldie. Well, I look through. There's a lot of 2s that I make. And 2s and 2s. I look at the 3s in all 3 piles. I could choose to not do 3s and not feel bad. So now I'm going to run an orange deck that's 2 orange and 4 purple, utilizing the heavy purple aggro shell with the nice handy utility of orange and Goldie to help submit my push on creating an economy imbalance through my aggro pushing. So then now all the 3s and 4s that ever existed in orange go back to the box. Now all I'm doing is 0, 1, well there is no zeros, 1 and 2 pips, orange cards, and 1, 2, 3, 4 pip, purple cards. That changed my 5/5/5 shell. It possibly did, I can't remember exactly because it was so long ago I did this deck building, but I would look at it then. Now I kind of have a more concrete direction. I know where my agents are going to be. I know what cards. I picked out this 4s that I really liked. And it was purple, so that gave me kind of like what I needed. I know I'm doing 4 and 2. So now I look at the Bs, and if I haven't filled out my 5/5/5, maybe there was so much like things that were like tied. I did maybe a 4/4/4, and I knew I would need to pull 1 more card, but it was from all these cards in the B pools. I would still look over either way to make sure that I'm happy with the selection. Kind of change stuff out, look to make sure that because now that I've picked my piles separately, now they got to work together. Let's look at the costs of this pile, this pile, this pile. Is one pile too heavy, or when you put them all together, there's too many high costing things, and I need to switch things out because I'm running too monetarily heavily a deck? See, I wasn't looking at that originally. I was looking at the abilities and how they work together and getting my shell. Now that I've kind of got the shell, now comes the fine tuning where I'll worry about costs and, you know, maybe I sub things out because I can't afford to have this because it's too expensive or something like that. And after that, to me, deck building's not done until you've played like 100 games.
I agree. Yeah, you gotta beta test it. You gotta play test as much as possible because you want to kind of get that synchrony and see if it's actually
humming like it's supposed to.
Yeah, and not to mention like the more adversity with different types of decks. Like you want to see where maybe there's a weakness, where there's the strength, and how can you navigate that, especially in its weaknesses.
So one thing we've always done in competitive card games, Steven and I, when we were doing SoulForge, in the past when I've done L5R, Magic the Gathering or whatnot, you have to find another group of really skilled players, really high level players that are willing to train with you, and you need to build up what is often referred to as a gauntlet, which is like the top 5 decks in the meta. And people that are particularly good at playing that deck will be the ones that are grabbing that deck and using it. And because of that, you can test it against the decks that you should see more often in the tournament. Now, that's not saying that you should forego playing in your local communities or stuff like that. I'm a high advocate that you should always play in your local communities because there's going to be wonky decks that you never saw coming that might give you a card that you didn't realize really eat your deck alive. Mm-hmm. Because maybe the meta would never play that card. But at the same token, let me put it this way. I made my Goldie aggro deck. I go to my local game store and play in their weekly casual play sessions. I find this card that just eats me, but usually it's played by this deck archetype that if a person took it to a tournament, they'd probably win at most their first round and lose every other round after that, or something. It's not a good deck. Nothing against the player that built the deck or anything. I'm just saying that it happens. Mm-hmm. It happens often.
It does.
But I know I could play that card in my deck. That might be a great defensive card, because in the situation where I play against a mirror match, I now know from my personal experience that card eats a Goldie deck. I wouldn't have had that knowledge, because no one would have played with that card, because it wasn't considered a good card by the higher end players.
Sure.
I mean, there's 1,001 videos you could watch on YouTube about how a player wins a Pro Tour in Magic with a deck everyone thought was completely poop. But because they tested with cards that everyone else just thought were poop, and realized that no, in this particular environment, this is really good, they were able to surprise everyone.
Yeah.
And
No, I've seen it. I've seen it in so many tournaments. You're like, how did this person get to the top 8?
so, just assuming because these decks are winning, those are the good cards, is a fallacy. You should always be happy to try out every card in the game. Every card is good in its own way, and don't just discredit cards just because the community at large is poo-pooing on them. But yeah, you would get a gauntlet. You would test it against the top decks, because that could let you know what you what problems your deck might have in a tournament, because theoretically you're going to see those decks. And if you find a glaring problem, that means you got to go back to the drawing board and redesign your deck a little bit to make sure it can handle the glaring problem. That's what you're looking for. If it's just a tough matchup, you might just have to play a tough matchup. There's no way you can build a deck that you're not going to struggle, or at least be slightly disadvantaged to, against some deck out there. Again, if your deck has no disadvantage, it needs to be ratted and banned. Because then everyone's going to play that, because there's no disadvantage. No matter what anyone else plays, I'm always doing good. So, but yeah, you're testing not because you're thinking you're trying to make your deck perfect. There's no such thing. You're just looking for any major problems that, if you do not address them, means you would automatically lose a match. If I play against this guy, I'm just going to lose. And then maybe there's no answer. Maybe there is no answer with your deck. You're just going to lose if you play that deck. You can still take that deck to the tournament and roll the dice that you don't play against that kind of player. Totally valid. But you go with that knowledge.
Yeah.
Or maybe it convinces you to retool or go with a different deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you prepare for tournaments. Sometimes, not everyone's going to invent the light bulb every time. I've built so many decks where I thought I had something. I had nothing. And when I got to testing phase, I just got stomped and stomped and stomped. But I really liked it. I thought it was super cool. Yeah, it was super cool if you could ever pop it off, but you can't pop it off and then everyone just rolls you. So, it's a definite part of the deck building process. It's the fine-tuning, refinement, testing phase.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, that's my process. This game doesn't have a curve like Magic, or a resource system guide like mini card games would, where on first turn you should be spending this much of your money, on second turn you should be spending this much of your money, so on and so forth. This game's not going to have that to it. It will be about action economy, like making sure you're utilizing the most value given actions for your 3 actions. But there is this game, at least as I see it right now, it is impossible to devolve into, on turn 1 you should play a mana and then you should have a 1-drop, and on turn 2 you should play 2 mana and then play a spell, and then on turn 3 you should play your 3rd mana and you should do another drop, or you're a control player, you should pay 1 mana and use a spell that gets you an extra mana in play, so that way you're ready for counter spells on turn 2, or some of these games, because of the economy systems involved with them, boil down to like this. Your deck should be designed to do the following things in this sequential order, or you're actually playing inefficiently. And I don't see that this game's going to get to that point. I think action economy and picking the right actions at the right moments to get the most value, and utilization of proper last turn, first turn action orders.
100%, yeah.
Those are going to be what define good play in this game, not, oh, you need to build your deck so that way on turn 1 you can do this, on turn 2 you can do this, and, no. But you will need to make sure that you're not heavy-handing your deck, because if you got a bunch of stuff that costs 4 and 3, you're never going to afford heat. You're never going to afford the other cards in your hand.
Yeah.
It's just going to be overpriced. So I would highly suggest, and again, someone correct me, let's start a conversation in the comments of this video. I don't care. I'm happy to converse. Anyone that's written on our YouTube podcast can verify. I would focus on your win condition, pile 1, your resources, pile 2, your defenses, pile 3, and after you've built those 3 piles, again, look at the economy. What's your resources look like? What are your resource generators? How often will you be able to afford 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 shards for heat? So that's 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 3 is 12, plus 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15. 15 shards to get someone to 5 heat. Your average discovered agent, maybe 3. I think it averages at 3. Some will be more expensive, some will be cheaper. We'll say an average of 3. You need 3 of those. That's 9 resources. We'll bring it up to an even plus 1 to count for the fact that there are some heavy handers there. 10 resources. Assume that you need for the game to get 3 agents and win. So that's 25. You get 5 in 1 a turn. That's going to take you forever to get to 25. Forever. So what is your resources doing to get that 25? You're starting with 5. You need 20 more. You shouldn't theoretically count on the 1 a turn that you get, because you might need that for obstacles or whatnot. Let's even assume, let's go ahead and assume for the amount of obstacles you'll fight in the game, you need an additional 5 to get past all of them. You're not destroying them, just getting past them, like barbecuing gates and whatnot. So we'll count a 5. That's 30 minus 5 to start with. You need to get 25 still. What is this pile of cards doing to make sure you're consistently getting to 25? And they may have a cost too. So a shard winner will produce you 2, but it costs 3. But if you put it in the middle lane, the council lane, it'll produce 2. But if you utilize second turn, first turn, you stage it, forge it, gain 2, first action, gain 2. Your opponent can choose to go and remove it from the game, but you have at least netted 1.
True.
So that card gave you 1 resource towards your 25 after cost. If the opponent was immediately just like, no, I can't let you. So that's 1 to that. If each turn they do, that's 2 towards 25. That's a huge push past the first initial 2 that you use to pay the cost back. But you might have ones that cost 1 that immediately give you 1 shard instantly. So it pays for itself on turn. That means each additional turn it's 1. You're going to have cards like Calling in Favors that may cost 2 actions, but it gives you 4. 4 out of 25, that's almost 1/5 of your goal to winning the game. So looking at your resources and determining how much money towards your 25 you have that's doing for you. Then add to that, well, what else am I wanting to buy outside of the 25 I need?
Sure.
Everything else costs money too. So I would say that's how I would advise to look at deck building going forward, guys, if you're looking for it. I could be completely wrong and full of hot air. It's only the fool that thinks he's always right and there's no room for improvement. So again, you have a different way, or you have a different thought, or you want to even argue with me. You might not even find an argument. You go, I might just go, you're right. Let's change the way we think about this. Please in the comments. But
absolutely,
I think you want to break it down because your deck has to do multiple things. So someone that's got nothing but win condition but can't afford anything because all they got is their winning cards, can't do anything. So when that has all resources, they can afford anything they ever want, but they have nothing to play. Someone that has all the defenses in the world, your opponent can't win, but neither can you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of a lot of trial and error as well. Just, you know, being willing to put yourself through the trial and error, through the play testing, seeing if those outcomes are occurring, and, you know, go back to the drawing board, right? Look at it in this multifaceted way. And again, I don't necessarily want to argue with Alan, but I do think that, yes, there's not necessarily a mana curve, but there is that cost curve that he was talking about, right? Like what cards are gonna, in your shard costs, are you gonna be able to have a bunch of cards that are a bunch of high shard costs? You're not gonna be able to play them as often, right? You're gonna need to have a lot of resource generation to do that. So, right, I could have all the heavy hitting cards I want in my hand, but if I can't play them, there's no point, right? So we gotta find, you know, that balance or that, you know, sweet spot, or, you know, what's going to allow me to kick off the strategy that I want to implement. And I think, like, even in some of our streaming play, like, I blatantly saw that for myself and in play testing, where I had things that I wanted to play, could not play, and it was like a smack to the mouth, not in a bad way, but in a way of like, that this deck is nowhere near ready. And again, mind you, like, Alan, you know, is very good at crafting competitive decks, or you know, at least just in terms of his deck building for, you know, various games that he's played. But, you know, for me, it's like, yeah, this is not anywhere near where I wanted my strategy to be and where I wanted to go. So, you know, I need to go back to the drawing board, and I need to find out a way to fine tune my strategy to where it's not going to just get mowed over every single game.
And that's a good point. So I wasn't being clear enough. There's no curve, because in Magic, when I talk about the curve, there's actually, you should have 21 drops, 14 2 drops, 2 cost droppers, 10 3 cost droppers. Like, it broke it down to a number that statistically your deck building should include if you were an aggro deck, to make sure you could win by turn 4 or 5. Like, that level of, like, because they knew you needed, if you're going to have a 1-drop on turn 1, which is huge, which is the most important thing for aggro, you have to have like 16 or 20 or something, whatever that magic number was, to guarantee statistically you would draw a 1-drop and be able to play it on turn 1 without having to mulligan your deck in Magic.
Sure. Yeah. No.
So that was against what I was talking about, like a mana curve. Where Hubworld's never going to be like, okay, you need to have 6 0 costs, 5 1 costs, and like they.
Yeah. There's no like rule. There's nothing that's going to be laid out in front of you to follow this.
You won't be able to statistically prove that the game is so like micromanaged that you either build it this way with this number of cards. Doesn't matter what it is. Just that this is the number of like how many need to be in your deck to statistically like have a good turn 1. I don't think that that's possible with Hubworld, but just because of the different way it plays.
Yeah, and again, how multifaceted it is, and again, like how you're playing. It's not like I'm attacking you and you're attacking me and you're impacting my life points. No, we're trying to find all your agents. We're seeking something, and I think that goes back to a more important thing, right? Our agents, the agents you're choosing, right? Mm-hmm. There's some agents that, you know, depending on where they're found, whether in the network, whether in your council, whether in your archives, like they're gone. You know, or if they're laid out on the field, like you have to be very, very aware of what your agents can do, can't do, and right how they work with the strategy of your deck. I think that's another thing. Like you may think, oh, this is a 2-drop agent. And I really like it because it's just a 2-drop, but really, how is it working, you know, in tandem with your other cards? Like, is it really serving your deck, or is it you just putting it there as a placeholder? Is there maybe something that's a better fit elsewhere?
So when I'm looking at agents, I actually have a 2-pile system, because you need agents regardless if they help you or not. There's a point, especially with the municipal card pool we're going to start with, until it grows to a point where you could fine-tune your agents to be like laser pinpoint to what you want. And that it still may never happen, I don't know.
Yeah.
You have 2 agents. You have ones that are win-con agents and 2 that are need-con agents. And I say need-con just because I want to be silly, but do you need the agent and it's just something of a necessity because there is nothing in that color besides what you've already picked that is like a win-con? Like, for instance, the blue deck I created, originally I thought possibly of going mono blue, like all 6 blue agents, because I wanted to do the archive tricks that Abnus was in keyed with. But 5 of the 6 agents all had like things that really helped mess with the archives or get things to archives or hinder the opponent from being able to win, so I could get the long control the archive strategy off the ground. But one was like completely like, I couldn't see a value in him at all. Like, he didn't do anything to help my win condition at all. So then I looked, and green had an agent that actually messed with the archives, and I was like, so I went 1 green and 5 blue, 1 green, and I thought that was neat. So it gave me a little bit of extra help from the green faction too when I was deck building. So I had to stop what I was doing, because originally it was going to be mono, and then like, oh, now I got to look at another color. Luckily, it's only 1 pips that I would get, but still. So you're going to have agents you're picking to help your win condition. Anything that doesn't do that, but even with the ones that are helping your win condition, you want to look at what it costs. Either in the network, which is the deck, or the council, which is in the hand, or on the grid, unforged or forged. So, do they have a cipher? That's a huge thing, because ciphers will always help keep them alive.
Yep.
Because even in here, or even in the archives, it's free other than the cipher.
Yep.
So, is it a good cipher?
Sure.
I might take a WinCon card out if I think that I don't really need that effect as much as I could use this cipher to keep you from winning. Like Auntie Ruth in orange. Like the preview deck version is draw 3 cards. Pick a player that draw 3 cards. Doesn't do much, if anything, for anyone. It's a nice resource card. But the cipher of you have to spend an action point to take that card is so huge that it can swing a game, or it can keep you alive longer than intended. Because very often, Steven and I have gotten around not doing it as much because we've been burnt by it, so our gameplay has actually dynamically changed. When we play the preview decks against each other, our delve usually, or our run, I'm not sure which the term was now. I get confused with Netrunner, and one was Netrunner, one is them. But anyway, it is usually the last action. And if you hit Aunt Ruth, you saw an agent, you could have had the agent, you don't get the agent.
Yep. And it goes back to like what can drag the game out, what can distract, what can, redirect focus, what's going to continue to keep you alive. And ciphers, I think, are critical, and depending on the cipher, especially Aunt Ruth.
Here's what I would... If you wanted to be the ultimate next level player, guys, my advice would be this. Because I don't believe that you should ever memorize every card in the game. That's so impossible. I mean, people do it. Dear God, you don't need to do that. The ultimate next level would be to memorize every agent in the game. You only got 6 of factions of 24 cards you need to memorize front and back. I wouldn't even go that far, but if you wanted to be the A+ Hermione Granger student, get your 10 points for Gryffindor, you could do that. But if you just memorize every cipher in the game on agents, not even their names or what else they do, just the ciphers that each color has. So you go, okay, you pick out the blue cipher agents and you just memorize those 3 and you tie that memory to blue. Then you do that for green, then orange and purple. I think that's a great level to be a great player in this game. Because those are your win cons. You need to get those agents. So if I see you start revealing colors on your grid, colors from your hand, or even the seeker color is at least an indicator of one color that's getting played, I know what ciphers I might need to play around at that point. I see orange, there might be Aunt Ruth. I might need to have an action to spend. There might be roaring bug, which that's where I say memorizing the secrets would be insane but good. Because roaring bug doesn't have a cipher, but he keeps moving left and right, so you need to know to expect.
Yeah, he's cheeky.
He's cheeky. You might need to expect that he might pop up and make your life a living heck. I see blue. I know that the detective requires me to tap a card in my archives row. Forged or unforged, but if I don't have a card there, I lose my opportunity to gain an agent when I see him. So if I see Abnus, I might, if I had a choice of just playing a card in play that's going to be a resource card, it goes into the archives every time. It's just foolish not to.
Yeah.
Now, argument could be made that's what Abnus wants you to do because it gives him the ability to get rid of stuff as he's making his way towards your archives because that's where he wants to play.
True.
So, but it's at least a thought. You know, if you're about to make a delve, it might be handy to go ahead and put a face down card there.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's how I would look at agents, and a little bit of like pro tip that Steven and I probably try to memorize ciphers before going to tournament play, just because knowing what could stop you from a win allows you to play around it. If you know the opponent's going to throw a curveball, you don't swing the bat.
Sure.
If you know your opponent does nothing but throw fastballs, you know you got to slam it hard and swing it fast.
True.
You know, knowledge is power. As G.I. Joe has told us, knowing is half the battle. We don't talk about the other half, which is kind of genocide, but
Yeah.
at least the first half of the battle is knowing, guys. You know, so.
True.
And I'm sure we've been rambling on for a while. I'm not even sure how long, so we'll hop off here, guys. But hope you enjoyed our discussion about deck building and deck playing and all that. And it's always a pleasure to be a part of this community. So thank you guys very much.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye.